All right, so we've been trying to keep up with all the latest on January 6th, and one of the people who helps keep us up to date on that is investigative journalist and BlazeTV contributor Steve Baker, who just tweeted out, Steve, thank you for joining us. You just tweeted out a couple hours ago, breaking, my attorney has just been notified by the FBI that I'm going to be charged by the Justice Department for my journalistic efforts on January 6th. I have to self-surrender on Tuesday. Charges are yet unknown. Stay tuned for more information to follow this afternoon. What the hell is going on?
Hey, I was just having a meeting with the chairman of a House committee. I was there with him for an hour and a half, walked down the hall of the Rayburn building to meet with the staff of another very important House member. And as I was finishing up that meeting, I got a text from my attorney. He said, call me. You know, when your attorney texts you like that, it's never a good thing.
Yeah.
So I stepped out into the hallway and he said, well, I wish I had good news, but the news we've been waiting on for 2.5 years is finally here. And the FBI agent who has had my investigation for the last 2+ years contacted my Raleigh attorney and said that they are going to be filing charges and that I will be required to self-surrender on Tuesday of this week in Raleigh. So I'm here in D.C. right now, so I guess I'll be heading home in a couple of days.
Golly. And did your attorney tell you, is it strange that they didn't give you any more information on to explain what the charges were going to be?
They have been this way since the very beginning. Back 2 years ago when we got our first threat, we were told on November 17th of 2021 by Assistant U.S. Attorney Anita Eve out of Philadelphia, my attorney was told that his client, me, would be charged within the week. That was exactly 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we didn't hear from them again for 20 months until I got a grand jury subpoena about back in August of this year for all my videos that I had taken on January 6th. And so that let us know that they had reopened or at least reevaluated or ignited the case. But back then, they told me that they were going to charge me with property damage and with, of all things, interstate racketeering, probably because of the licensing of my video to other agencies. My videos have been used by HBO documentary, New York Times documentary, Epic Times, and several other news agencies all over the world. And so that was the only thing that we could think of. But then we did a media blitz. They went away, and then we didn't hear from them, as I said, for 20 months. And then they came back, and then I got the news that I got today. But look, the timing of this is I'm not even going to say that it's suspect. Mm-hmm. I'm absolutely convinced of what the timing is. We have been releasing very important stories, hitting right at the heart of what they're doing. We have uncovered corruption in the Capitol Police. We have uncovered actual lies and perjury taking place in trials. And more importantly, there are people that put those officers on the stand. And who puts people on the stand? That would be the Department of Justice. And so we've been poking the bear. And, the truth of the matter is, if I'm being perfectly honest, they want to keep me out of town and they want to take this away from me. Mm-hmm. They want to take my congressional press badge away from me, and they want me off of this case is what they want. And so as is the case with most January 6th defendants, they are not allowed to travel to D.C. So unless they consider me a risk, unless my attorneys can argue otherwise, that this is where I do my work, they're going to have a hard time keeping me from being here.
Yeah, I mean, but I want to be clear here. Is there argument that you were not a member of the press when you were there on January 6th? Because I know in October, you wrote a piece for Blaze Media about how you had been under federal investigation. And in the article, you said, like many other reporters and photojournalists, both independents and those working directly for established media companies, I followed the story that day where it went, and it happened to be inside the Capitol building. Between 100 or 200 journalists were either already inside the Capitol covering the event from restricted grounds or followed the crowd inside. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me that they wouldn't see the work that you're doing here, see the work that you've done as a whole, and go, oh, well, this guy was obviously just trying to document the whole thing. Obviously, we have freedom of the press in this country, and we can't do that.
Right. Well, it's a case of selective prosecution, because what they're doing is they are not charging the 60 or so mainstream media journalists that also followed the story where the story went. And by the way, just when you enter a restricted space, it doesn't matter who you work for, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, or Blaze Media.
That's a great point.
You're not allowed to enter a restricted space at any time. But if you're going to bring charges against all of the independent journalists or those who reported to other news agencies that were not helping with, establishing and preserving the narrative, as Nancy Pelosi liked to say, then that's who they're bringing charges against. And so that's what we're up against at this moment. And as I said, it's the timing is not suspicious to me at all. It's the timing is easily answered, especially after today when I saw an actual text from a very high-ranking Capitol Police official who was upset that I have access to their comms, because I posted that last week as well. I posted a screenshot from one of their emails, and that made them mad. And then all of a sudden, here comes the charges.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's no way. This isn't. The timing is very clear to me. Steve? Are you scared? I mean, I would be terrified if I was in this position.
Look, it doesn't feel good, but I've had 2 years to prepare for this. I certainly dealt with it emotionally 2 years ago when the threats first came. And so now I'm just ready for the fight. I've been getting calls from friendly attorneys all day today. And I kind of feel like, we're about to get the band back together and we're going to go to war.
Steve, what did you do? How many windows did you break? Like, what did you steal while you were there? Like, is there anything that even borderline that you did other than just walk around and film people?
I stole images and information that they don't want out. That's what I got. And no, I didn't enter the Capitol until after many hundreds of other people were already inside, after the doors were long open, after the police had been basically given stand down orders, and they were basically de-escalating at that point. And this is the real tragedy of what's going on here. And I'm not saying myself. I'm talking about hundreds of people entered that building that day innocently. And when I say innocently, they didn't know that they were breaching restricted space. They weren't seeing cops providing or an effort to keep them out. By then, the cops had basically just said, okay, we've got to contain the situation and let's not let this thing break out into any more violence than what it is. And so this is what happened. It was about that time that I entered the building. I walked through. I captured some of the most important video of the day. And then when it was over, I left peacefully. I didn't break anything. I didn't attack any law enforcement. I didn't chant. I didn't parade. I didn't wave a flag. I wasn't wearing any Trump gear. I did what a journalist would do. And then I exited and then started writing and telling my stories. And then as those stories became more important, I began doing the investigation into all of the things that we are looking at today, the corruption, the anomalies, the setup, all of the above.
Is it possible, Steve, that they're just trying to draw some line between mainstream journalists and independent journalists? I mean, like, you're with the Blaze Media now, but at that time you were not. You were an independent journalist, if I'm understanding that right. Are they trying to just, go after independent journalists?
Yeah.
That's all that they're doing at this point. But there are independents that submitted their stories to the proper media organization. If you were independent, you were a stringer or you were just a contractor and you had a relationship with the New Yorker like Luke Mogelson did. Luke Mogelson caught the video of the QAnon shaman in the Senate chamber praying. But see, Luke Mogelson, I don't know whether he has a congressional press badge or not, but he does not have a right to enter the Senate chamber. So he has to be held to the same standard as every other journalist, independent or otherwise, that they're charging. And he captured this incredible footage, and then he wrote his story, and he submitted it to the New Yorker, and they published it, and there you have it. And he seems to have a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah. Well, Steve, how can we? Is there something we can do to help? Like, what can we do right now to help you?
Right now, we're just going to get the word out that this is happening, and it's happening at the level it was. I will tell you, when the actor and GOP activist that was arrested in the airport last week, I forget his name, the guy that worked with Babylon Bee, and he just attended the premiere of their new the Daily Wire's new comedy special.
Yeah.
And he flew back home, and he was arrested. As soon as that happened, in my mind, I said this to myself: I'm next. Because if they're going that deep, they're coming after me next.
Well, Steve, this is enraging that this is happening to you, but we thank you so much for all of your great work. It's just been instrumental in getting the truth out and praying for you, and just keep us posted.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, we're continuing the work. I continued the work today. Right after the announcement, I met with the head of the police union, the president of the police union here. We're still working. We're still investigating. We're not going to stop.
Good. Thank you so much, Steve. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Sarah.
See ya. God, that makes me mad.
It's unbelievable.
It really is. Like, what United States are we living in 2023 that this is happening to journalists?
Yeah, I mean, and it's just certain types of journalists, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, the New York Times has had reporters inside the Capitol for all of this. They have all sorts of footage, and everyone's just like celebrates them. They get into the documentaries. Everyone's like, thank God we have the First Amendment protections for the press. And then
we don't.
We
Right.
clearly
We
don't, I
Right.
guess. I am moderately surprised that you don't have at least some voices stepping up for Steve that aren't that are journalists that are not on the right. Like, I mean, you'd think someone from the left would say, hey, wait a minute, this is going to happen to us when Donald Trump gets in. But they never think that way, apparently.
No, you know why? Because that's how much they hate your guts.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how much they hate you. They don't care about stuff like that as long as they're advancing their own agenda.